You've been distracted from your own path, and deep down you know it. Every morning, the first thing you touch isn't your goals, your journal, or your dreams, it's your phone. You scroll through other people's lives before you even look at your own. You fill your mind with highlights, with fake perfection, with filtered success stories that make you feel like you're behind. You see people your age driving Lamborghinis, traveling the world, wearing watches that cost more than your rent, and in that moment, you forget who you are. You forget where you're going. You forget that your life is not a race against theirs. That's how it starts, not with a big failure, not with a dramatic downfall, but with small, mindless distractions that steal your focus, your confidence, your direction. One notification, one scroll, one "I'll just check for a minute." Before you know it, the day's gone, and so is another piece of your potential. You think you're relaxing, you think you're catching up. But what you're really doing is escaping the silence, escaping your thoughts, escaping the uncomfortable truth that you don't have clarity, that you don't actually know what you want. See, it's easier to stay distracted than it is to face yourself. It's easier to keep your brain busy than to sit in stillness and ask, what am I actually doing with my life? Because that question, that silence, forces you to see how far you've drifted. The truth is, most people aren't lost because life is confusing. They're lost because they've forgotten to listen to their own voice. They've drowned it in noise, endless content, constant stimulation, meaningless conversations, and now they wonder why they feel directionless. You can't find your path if your mind is full of everyone else's. Your focus is your greatest currency. It's worth more than money, more than talent, more than intelligence, because whatever you focus on grows. If you focus on negativity, you'll find reasons to be miserable. If you focus on distractions, you'll find excuses to stay stuck. But if you focus on yourself, your growth, your craft, your mission, you'll start seeing opportunities everywhere. That's what no one tells you. The world isn't designed to help you win. It's designed to keep you hooked. Every platform, every ad, every app, it's built to hijack your attention, to keep you numb, to make you forget that you were meant for more than this endless cycle of scrolling and comparing. The system doesn't care about your dreams, it cares about your clicks. And if you don't take control of your attention, someone else will. So you have to wake up. You have to become conscious of what you consume. Because what you consume shapes who you become. Start noticing how much time you give away. The hours you waste watching people who have already built what you haven't even started. The energy you pour into things that don't push you forward an inch. You keep saying you want clarity, but clarity doesn't come from consuming, it comes from creating, from sitting down, shutting off the noise, and doing the actual work. You can't find your path through other people's content. You have to create it through your own action. Every successful person you look up to, the ones you follow, the ones you admire, they weren't born with more talent. They were just more focused. While everyone else was watching, they were working. While everyone else was distracted, they were obsessed. You have that same potential inside you, but you're never going to find it if your mind is constantly elsewhere. You can't be present in your life while living in someone else's highlight reel. And maybe you tell yourself, I'm learning, I'm getting inspired. But be honest, most of the time, you're not learning. You're procrastinating in disguise. You're calling it research because it makes you feel productive, even though you haven't done anything real. You want to stop feeling lost, stop watching everyone else's journey, and start walking your own. You need to disconnect to reconnect. You need to create space for your own thoughts, your own ideas, your own intuition. When was the last time you spent a day without your phone? When was the last time you were bored, not scrolling, not distracting yourself, just sitting in silence? That's where the answers are. That's where clarity lies. Because clarity isn't something you find on YouTube or in a podcast. It's something you uncover inside yourself. Once you remove the noise, you've been running from silence because you think it's empty. But silence isn't empty, it's full of the truth you've been avoiding, the truth about who you are, what you want, and what you need to change. The world will keep pulling at you. The noise will never stop. But you can choose to step away. You can choose to take back control of your focus. Imagine what would happen if you took all the time you waste on distractions and invested it into yourself, reading, training, building, learning. Imagine where your life would be in a year if you treated your focus like gold and refused to spend it on nonsense. You're not lost because you don't have potential. You're lost because you've forgotten where to look for it. It's not out there, it's in you. But you'll never find it until you stop being distracted from your own path. So stop chasing everything that doesn't matter. Stop letting other people's lives define your timeline. Stop consuming more and start creating more. The only way to find yourself is to finally start paying attention to yourself. You're avoiding the work that gives you purpose, you know it, and it's eating you alive inside. There's this quiet guilt that follows you every day, that little voice reminding you that you could be doing more, that you're capable of more, but you're not. And instead of facing it, you drown it. You drown it in distractions, in entertainment, in fake productivity, in anything that keeps you from confronting the truth that you're not doing the work you're meant to do. You tell yourself you're waiting for the right time. You tell yourself you need more motivation, more knowledge, more certainty. But let's be honest, you're not waiting for the right time. You're waiting for it to feel easy. You're waiting for some magical wave of inspiration that will finally make you move. That moment isn't coming, because the people who find purpose don't wait for it to feel right. They act even when it feels wrong. They move forward even when it hurts, even when they doubt themselves, even when everything in them screams to stop. Purpose isn't discovered in comfort, it's forged in discomfort. It's found in the work that stretches you, humbles you, tests you, the kind of work that forces you to face your weaknesses. That's why most people avoid it. Because the truth is, real purpose requires pain. It demands sacrifice. It demands discipline, consistency, and struggle, and most people aren't willing to pay that price. We live in a generation obsessed with shortcuts. Everyone wants the success, but no one wants the suffering that comes with it. You want to feel fulfilled, but you don't want to go through the frustration of failing. You want meaning, but you don't want the mess that comes before mastery. That's why you feel lost, because you're trying to skip the part that builds you. You see someone living their dream and think they're lucky, but what you don't see is the years of unseen work, the nights they worked when they didn't feel like it, the times they kept going when no one believed in them, the moments they felt just as lost as you do right now, but refused to stop. They didn't find purpose waiting for motivation. They found it by doing the work. You think you need clarity before you start, but that's backward. You get clarity by starting. You don't sit around trying to find your purpose. You create it through action. You try, you fail, you learn, you adapt. Through that process, you begin to understand what fulfills you and what doesn't. You start uncovering who you really are. You're not confused because life is complicated. You're confused because you're avoiding the work that would bring you clarity. You want answers, but you're unwilling to do the thing that would give you those answers work. There's a reason you feel anxious when you're doing nothing. There's a reason you feel restless when you're wasting time. That's your potential screaming at you. It's your soul rejecting mediocrity. Because deep down, you know you're meant for more than comfort. You're built to create, to build, to contribute, to grow. That's what gives humans meaning, progress. And when you stop progressing, you start suffering. But instead of channeling that discomfort into action, you numb it. You run from it. You bury it under hours of scrolling, watching, escaping. You call it rest. But it's not rest, it's avoidance. It's the slow death of your potential disguised as relaxation. You keep waiting for permission to start. Waiting for the perfect plan, the perfect conditions, the perfect version of yourself. But purpose doesn't come to those who wait, it comes to those who move. You can't think your way into purpose. You have to act your way into it. The truth is, the reason you're avoiding the work is because deep down, you're scared. Scared that if you try, you might fail. Scared that if you give it your all and still fall short, you'll have to face the possibility that maybe you're not good enough. But here's the paradox. By not trying, you're guaranteeing that you'll fail. You're living in the exact reality you're afraid of creating. You're scared of failing, so you fail by default. You're scared of rejection, so you reject yourself before anyone else can. You're scared of wasting time, but you're wasting years by doing nothing. That's the painful truth about purpose. You have to earn it. You have to work for it, and not just when it's convenient, not just when you feel inspired, but every single day, especially when it's hard. Because that's where real fulfillment hides, in the discipline of doing the hard things that most people avoid. When you finally decide to face the work, everything changes, the noise fades, the anxiety lessens. The confusion starts to lift, because even if you're not where you want to be yet, you're moving, and movement creates meaning. It gives you a sense of direction, a sense of identity. But as long as you keep avoiding the work, you'll keep feeling lost. You'll keep wondering why you're stuck while others move forward. You'll keep searching for shortcuts that don't exist. So stop running from the very thing that will set you free. The gym session you keep skipping, the business idea you never start, the book you don't write, The discipline you avoid building, that's the work that gives you purpose. That's where meaning lies. No one's coming to hand you your purpose. It's not hidden somewhere waiting to be found. It's built day by day, through your effort, through your sweat, through your consistency. Every time you choose discipline over distraction, you're shaping it. Every time you show up when it's hard, you're uncovering it. Purpose isn't about doing what feels good. It's about doing what's right. It's about aligning your actions with the person you know you're capable of becoming. And yes, it's going to be uncomfortable, but that's the point. The discomfort is the sign that you're growing, so stop waiting, stop avoiding, stop lying to yourself that you're lost when really, you're just resisting the work that would make you found. Get up, do the thing you've been avoiding, fail if you have to, fall, learn, get up again, because in that process, you'll find something far more powerful than comfort. You'll find yourself. The work you're avoiding isn't your enemy. It's your way home. You haven't decided what you actually want. That's the real reason you feel stuck, lost, and confused. You keep telling yourself you're searching for direction, but in reality, you're avoiding the decision that would give you one. You're not lost because the world is complicated. You're lost because you haven't made a choice. Every day you wake up and drift. You move through life reacting instead of acting. You scroll, you talk, you complain, but you don't decide. You don't decide who you want to be, what you're willing to sacrifice, what you stand for, and because you haven't decided, life decides for you. Circumstances decide, other people decide, the system decides. You're like a boat with no anchor, getting pulled wherever the tide goes, one day excited, the next day anxious, always chasing something but never sure what it is. And that's the dangerous comfort of indecision. It gives you a way out. As long as you haven't decided, you never have to commit, you never have to fail, you never have to take responsibility. You can just tell yourself, I'm still figuring it out. You can live in that gray area where nothing is certain, where you get to feel smart for thinking deeply about life, while secretly knowing you're avoiding action. But here's the truth most people will never admit. Indecision is a decision. It's a decision to stay stuck, to live on autopilot, to let fear lead instead of purpose. You keep waiting for clarity, but clarity doesn't come before the decision, it comes after. You don't wait to know the path before you walk it. You walk first, and the path reveals itself. That's how every successful person you admire did it. They didn't have a perfect plan, they just decided. They committed to something even if it wasn't guaranteed to work, and that commitment gave them direction. You think not deciding protects you from making the wrong choice. But the truth is, not deciding is the worst choice you can make. Because while you hesitate, someone else is moving. Someone else is learning, failing, adapting, building momentum. And by the time you finally figure it out, they're already miles ahead, not because they were smarter, but because they had the courage to decide. The fear behind indecision is simple. You're afraid of being wrong. You're afraid of wasting time. You're afraid of choosing the wrong path and realizing later that it wasn't the right one. But that fear is exactly what's keeping you from living. Because even if you choose wrong, you can correct. You can pivot, you can change direction, but you can't change anything if you never start. You can't find purpose while standing still. Movement creates meaning. Every step you take, even in the wrong direction, teaches you something about what you want, what you don't, who you are, and who you're not. But you'll never discover any of that through thinking alone. You have to act. Most people aren't confused. They just don't want to accept the price that comes with what they say they want. They want success, but not sacrifice. They want freedom, but not responsibility. They want to live their dream, but they're not willing to wake up early, grind through the boring parts, or fail in public. So instead of admitting that truth, they hide behind, I don't know what I want. It's easier to be confused than it is to be committed. But the longer you wait, the heavier that confusion becomes. The longer you sit in indecision, the more it eats away at your confidence. Every day you delay, your belief in yourself fades just a little more. Because deep down, you know you're capable of more, and doing nothing is the same as giving up on that potential. There's a moment in everyone's life when they have to draw a line and say, enough. Enough thinking. Enough waiting, enough living in limbo. That's the moment you stop being a passenger and become the driver. That's the moment your life changes. When you decide what you actually want, everything else starts to make sense. Your energy has direction. Your habits have purpose. Your discipline becomes natural, not forced. You stop caring so much about what everyone else is doing because you have your own mission. You stop seeking external validation because you're too focused on your internal vision. But it starts with one brutal act of honesty, admitting what you really want, not what sounds good, not what other people expect, not what's safe, the truth, the thing that scares you, the thing you keep pushing away because you know it'll require you to level up. Maybe you want to build something of your own. Maybe you want to break free from the system. Maybe you want to create, inspire, teach, lead, whatever it is, decide, own it. Say it out loud. Stop pretending you don't know. Because you do know, you've always known, you've just been afraid to admit it. The decision doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be real, because once you make it, everything changes. Your brain starts to align. You start seeing opportunities that were invisible before. You start cutting off things that don't serve you. That's the power of decision. It gives your life structure. It turns chaos into direction. Yes, there will be fear. There will be doubt. There will be days when you question everything. But that's normal. That's growth. The difference between the lost and the found isn't confidence, it's commitment. The found are just people who made a decision and refuse to turn back. So stop pretending you don't know what you want. You do. You just haven't decided to go after it yet. You're waiting for a sign, for permission, for a guarantee, but no one's coming. No one's going to give you the green light. You have to give it to yourself. The second you decide, you stop being lost. You might still be unsure, but at least you're moving. You have direction. You have momentum. And momentum is everything, because the truth is, your purpose doesn't start with knowing, it starts with deciding. Decide what you want. Decide who you're going to become. Decide what kind of life you refuse to settle for. The world belongs to the ones who decide. Silence the noise. Focus on the mission. Because the moment you reclaim your attention, you reclaim your life.